ahead.
Hi, my name is Dawn and I'm a patient of Dr. Nizami's. I met Dr. Nizami in 2019 after I was diagnosed with breast cancer. Needless to say, it was a really scary time. My entire life completely flipped upside down, especially with this being my second time being diagnosed with cancer. I'd actually suffered from non-Hodgkin's lymphoma 20 years prior, and I had had almost 18 years of remission and great health, and having a second diagnosis was truly something that just flipped our entire world upside down. And how I came across Dr. Nizami was in a really interesting way. I was actually all set to start my chemotherapy for breast cancer treatments, and the day before we were supposed to start, we got a phone call from my oncologist saying that our insurance didn't cover chemotherapy. So needless to say, we were completely put in an influx of knowing what to do, how to cover the cost of the chemotherapy out of pocket. Unfortunately, we didn't qualify for any programs because we made too much money, but didn't have enough money to cover the $75,000 per treatment for the chemotherapy, which they were telling me I needed 12 rounds of chemotherapy with a double mastectomy followed by radiation. So in the interim, a good friend of mine who had met Dr. Nizami about 6 months prior to me being diagnosed told me about him. And as we were trying to sort out the insurance thing, that's how I met Dr. Nizami. And the first thing he did was do extensive tests that he sent over to Germany and genetic testing. He was very clear that he was not a naturopathic doctor nor a homeopathic doctor, but he was a doctor who understood cancer, which put my husband at ease, because the crazy thing about when you're diagnosed with cancer is how scary it is and how helpless you feel. You're not a doctor. You're not a cancer doctor. And literally your entire life is flipped upside down, and it goes so fast to where you see doctor after doctor, test after test, you're hearing scary things, you don't know what to do. The worst thing you can do is actually go on the internet, because that will even scare you even more so about your prognosis. And because this is my second time going through this, even though it was really scary, I still was calm enough and had been through enough the first time when I had been diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. I had been through a tremendous amount of chemotherapy, actually had a cellular induction failure, which meant that the tumor cells mutated to become immune to the chemotherapy. I was Stanford's first clinical trial for a stem cell transplant, followed by several months of radiation. So I had been through the whole gamut of protocols for the first time with chemotherapy and normal protocols for treatment. So I was open to doing something different, and at least listening and seeing that there might be something else. So with this information, my husband and I and our family, we felt completely confident moving forward with Dr. Nizami's treatment. The kind of funny thing, I was so prepared to go through chemo the second time. I had already cut my hair, donated it, and then later find out that through Dr. Nizami's treatment there's no nausea, there's no loss of hair, there's none of the side effects that you have with chemotherapy, and which was another relief. So I started treatment, and there is some fatigue and there's little, but the side effects are nothing compared to what you go through with chemotherapy. And we were getting results with all of my blood work and scans. I literally went into my surgery. I was out of the hospital within 24 hours. We had a nurse that came and administered Dr. Nizami's treatment in a hotel room in case there was any spillage from the surgery. And I was up and recovered in a matter of like 10 days. Unbelievable recovery. And the thing is I've talked to a lot of different cancer patients over the years, from the time of being from lymphoma to all the way to going through Dr. Nizami's treatment. And the biggest thing is that everyone is so scared when you're initially first diagnosed. I tell people that you will never ever be the same person the day that you're diagnosed with cancer. There's going to be the person that you were before cancer, and there's going to be the person that you are after cancer. And you will never ever be the same. And no one can really understand that unless you've really gone through it, and just how scary it is. And we're taught to put faith in Western medicine because these doctors, they do know more than us. And then now we have the internet where there's so much information, but there's also a lot of misguided information. And the one thing about what I really appreciated about Dr. Nizami is the fact that he understands how cancer functions. He understands the blueprint of your genetic makeup and the cancer's DNA. That's what he calls it, their fingerprint of the DNA, of the cancer. And he knows how to treat it. And I personally have had phenomenal results. I've talked to so many different patients and so many different stories, being here in the clinic for almost 2 years now. And the biggest thing I can say is that you will have information that makes sense. This is not, of course, everything takes a leap of faith. It takes a leap of faith if you go into Western medicine. It takes a leap of faith if you choose something that is an alternative. But the biggest thing is that understanding that when you can also look at the facts behind it too, that make you feel comfortable of taking that leap of faith. And that's my biggest thing, that I just want people to understand and know that there is an alternative. So, I'm just here to be an advocate for patients, to say I know how scary it is. I know where you are when you're sitting across a desk from an oncologist and you're being told that you have cancer. It is literally the scariest thing. But I also want to be able to empower people to know that there's alternatives. That doesn't necessarily mean that you have to lose your hair and be sick. Because the other thing is, I tell people, is I say, cancer is actually not painful. It's not the actual cancer is really the worst part. It's all the stuff that they give you to treat the cancer. And so that's my message to anyone that's has been diagnosed or looking at alternative treatments, to be able to say, like, I understand. I've been in your shoes before. I've done both routes. I've done the full Western route. I've gone through a tremendous amount of homeopathic and naturopathic things that I really felt aided in my recovery from all of the chemotherapy I did prior. And now I've done this combination of really the perfect balance with Dr. Nizami's treatment, of it being, yes, he's not opposed to Western medicine. He is not, that's not the case, but he also understands how to work with your body and your genetic makeup, and also the type of cancer that you have. And it doesn't have to be a horrific process. You can still have a quality of life and live your life and beat it. So that's what I'd like to just share today.